I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was the one I was actually looking forward to the most. And I was so disappointed. I really thought it was going to be, I was hoping for this sort of Force pilgrimage that Obi-Wan Kenobi would undertake, that he would go on this sort of spiritual journey, try to reconcile the past and also the future, seeing the hope for the future in Luke. And I thought it would be such an amazing opportunity for Obi-Wan to have like Force visions and seeing possible pasts and possible futures and communing with Qui-Gon. Like, it could have been so cool. They're not capable of writing to that degree of intelligence and depth and complexity. So it's like, what's the point then? What was the point of doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi show at this time in his life, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, where he's like dealing with a lot of stuff, probably like some PTSD and all that, and his part, probably reconciling some guilt and fear and doubt in himself and trying to work that out and move on and look for the hope that there is in the future. But could have been so good, so strong narratively and so rich, added something truly worthwhile to the expanded universe in that regard. But I just don't know how to do that. They just wanted to have a reason for Darth Vader and Obi-Wan to have a rematch. There was no substantial reason for them to have done that, for them to have a physical rematch. It would have been much better if it was through the Force, if we would have seen Force visions and have him battle it out with different versions of Vader in that way. That would have been cool. Or different futures and different outcomes. I think could have been really neat. And yeah, they liked the idea of the Obi-Wan and Darth Vader rematch, but they didn't think of why would this be necessary? Why? The point of the Obi-Wan show was to make all the evil that Vader does Obi-Wan fault because he didn't take the shot. Doesn't feel necessary. It would have been so much better if this was just in Obi-Wan's own mind and him just reconciling with himself what was going on in Anakin's mindset and him like coming to terms with that it wasn't his fault, it happened, but there was also, if he could see a glimpse of hope in the future in Luke and he could see a possible future where the Chosen One does indeed bring balance, I don't know, or just alluding to that there is a way and that the prophecy could still be fulfilled. Just alluding to that, I think would have been really cool. They didn't make it make sense for them to have this rematch. And was it just so he could say, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did? Was it that all that it was for? And then it just throws everything else out of balance with the OT about why Leia doesn't know Obi-Wan in this personal way. It doesn't seem like that, just that her father knows him and that she just knows him as General Kenobi who served with her father. Just don't think about these things because they're not nerds. Nerds would care about the details. Obi-Wan should have never used a lightsaber until the last episode. It should have been a more local story about him trying to keep an eye on Luke while staying out of things on Tatooine. Exactly. If he was doing these Force visions in his mind, then I could, see the lightsaber usage. But yeah, to have him just out and about during this very scary time when it comes to being a Jedi in the midst of the Purge, it didn't make sense. There are some cool shots, but do those cool little lightsaber things, does that really justify like the damage that was done? I feel like if you just want to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader going at it again, do like a what if show or something, like a live action what if show, and just have it be kind of what if scenarios where these heroes and villains would clash. Like, I don't know, if you just want to see lightsabers clashing, then just have it exist outside of canon. And I honestly think there could be a place for that. And I feel like Star Wars Visions was kind of like that. It's not canon, these very much fantasy takes on Star Wars presented by these different artists and visionaries and with different animation styles. It could be something like that. If that's like all we're doing here, if that's what's all you're going to hype up is just these battles, and if that's what people are going to lose their minds over, or what they think only fans want are just lightsaber battles, then just have it be that. Just have it be heroes and villains clash in Star Wars, something like that. They don't care, they just want to create content, not stories. Deconstruction is all they have been trying to do. Obi-Wan being broken, for example, he wasn't broken, he was standing sentinel. And when I say before that I would have preferred a more like introspective, deep character study of Obi-Wan and him kind of reconciling the past, I didn't like him just being broken. To a degree, I can see some having to reconcile, like maybe he started going down a path of just doubt and guilt or something and being weighed down, but still not giving up, still holding to the tenets of what a Jedi should do. But yeah, like feeling the need to go on a pilgrimage and kind of weed out those dark side tendencies. And I think it could have been really neat to have him go on this spiritual journey. But yeah, again, that would require intelligence and thoughtfulness and depth and complexity, and they don't want to do that. And I think it could have been some great action in there, but I mean, can you imagine if the limits are your imagination when it comes to like force visions? And even then, when they tried to do a force vision in Ahsoka, like, I didn't like that. And you couldn't see anything. It was like foggy as all get out. Like, what's with the fog? And then the final climax of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, you couldn't see anything. And it was on this dirty, plain landscape with just fog. This is your battle you've been hyping up. We literally saw them on Mustafar, like in Revenge of the Sith. Like, it was so huge and epic and awesome and brightly lit with lava. It's cool and dramatic. And yeah, just the violent environment of the volcano like spoke to the absolute climactic clash that was happening right now. It was just epic on so many levels. What do you make their rematch? Just this backwater planet at night, foggy, and you can't see anything? But I will hand it to, and like that, there was that one moment where Hayden Christensen has his mask, like half of it was broken or something, and you see him. Like that one moment, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Okay. I still don't think it's enough to justify the show being made. I mean, that could have been a force vision though too. And there's some potential there. And how do you fail with a Kenobi show? They found a way to. Exactly. And that probably had the greatest hype around it. You have this character that's beloved by the OT fans and the prequel fans. I think pretty much Obi-Wan, even if you have your issues with the prequel trilogy, I think for the most part, fans love his story. Personally, I think his dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin is the best part of those movies. You had all of these fans, cross-generational fans of these different trilogies, were hyped up for that show. And yeah, they found a way. They found a way to ruin it. And there was a lot of shakeups behind the scenes creatively too. I think they were initially going to do something with Obi-Wan and Luke. I remember hearing rumors that they decided to stop and repurpose the show to where now Obi-Wan would have the adventure with Leia. And I think they only did that because the Mandalorian was having his young charge. So I feel like just the archetype itself with having the main character look after a child, they thought that it would just be a repeat of that in Obi-Wan. So they were like, yeah, let's do it with Leia. I don't know if that's for sure or not. It's that was all rumors, but it was true that they did do massive creative shakeups behind the scenes and did at least a couple rewrites. I don't know. There seemed like there was a lot of rewriting behind the scenes, and it took forever for that to actually get completed. And I feel like that's a hallmark of most of these installments is they don't have a plan, and so they announce first. They just love to make announcements, and they also just don't think first. They don't have a plan in mind. So that was a hallmark of why the sequel trilogy was so bad. You didn't have any communication between J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. And so when Rian Johnson took over, he just did his own thing and took all of Abrams' story ideas and tossed them aside, literally.